December 18, 2018, the state of Idaho and the United States Department of Agriculture's Northern and Intermountain Forest Service regions signed a historic forest health agreement for shared stewardship. The Idaho Department of Lands and the U.S. Forest Service partnered to reduce wildfire risk, improve forest health, and support jobs through additional, coordinated active land management projects across 2 priority landscapes, one in northern Idaho and one in the south. In Idaho, shared stewardship currently reduces risk from insect and disease infestation and catastrophic wildfire on more than 4 million acres using prescribed fire, fuel reduction, timber harvesting, and thinning treatments. This holistic approach helps restore healthy conditions in forests, rangelands, and watersheds.
So when I think of no boundaries forestry, I can't help but relate it to fire, to wildfire, right? Because fire has no boundaries. It doesn't see a boundary between state land or private land or federal land. And an idealistic way, or in the future way that I'd like to look at it, is that we manage the landscape in the same way that wildfire, works through a landscape. And so, meaning that we just, we ignore boundaries and we do the work where it is required, where it's needed, and we figure out the right tools to make that happen.
No boundaries forestry to me means that we're no longer planning individually anymore. We're looking at the landscape as a whole, regardless of ownership. It's the Forest Service, it's the Idaho Department of Lands, it's industrial landowners and private landowners, all working together towards a common goal of increasing the resiliency of our forest lands across all ownerships, getting people to work, and improving the health and condition and protecting communities from wildfire.
Shared stewardship is no boundaries forestry.
The governor has tapped a team of experts to participate on an advisory group. You have everybody from timber industry experts to conservation experts to assist in laying out a direction and vision for shared stewardship on the landscape. I sit on that panel as the director of Idaho Department of Lands, providing that leadership and direction for the department and playing that important role representing endowment lands on the Governor's Shared Stewardship Advisory Group.
For the U.S. Forest Service and the Idaho Department of Lands, working together means more than just developing a plan. It includes aligning staff resources between both agencies.
So when the Shared Stewardship Initiative came along, we were already engaging in this type of activity on the federal landscape. It was natural for us, again, to be thinking about how can we have a positive impact to address these challenges. Good Neighbor is just one part of shared stewardship. That's helping the federal landowners with their piece on federal lands. You've also got the state lands piece, the industrial forest lands piece, and the non-industrial or the family forest landowner piece. We already work with those folks. So we have, it's just really was a natural for us to work alongside our partners to engage the broader audience.
One of the first things we came up with was, it sounds simple, but a shared position. So we actually have a couple of shared positions between IDL and the Forest Service. And down here on our southern area, we have Lynn Oliver, who is in our shared stewardship position. And I think what's unique about this position is that while Lynn technically works for me as the forest supervisor, he sits in the IDL office there in Boise. And so he's able to have those conversations and build those relationships right there with Idaho Department of Lands and other state entities, and bring that relationship and knowledge back to the Forest Service and help us to understand each other's culture and really align that way. So that's been it's new and we're still learning, but it's a really, really positive thing.
No boundaries forestry to me is the approach that we're going to use interagency, interorganizationally, to get the cross-boundary work done. It's a breaking down of the silo walls that have historically been there. The state of Idaho has committed $250,000 of ongoing state funding to help make sure that we can launch these efforts and manage these efforts across the state. Idaho Department of Lands has shown their ongoing commitment by hiring the coordinator, statewide coordinator position, as a state employee. They are also hiring 2 new foresters to help with the on-the-ground implementation of the shared stewardship work and the Good Neighbor Authority work. And the governor, to me, is showing his ongoing commitment. Now what we've got is just a much closer, collaborative way of meeting, of planning our forest management activities and getting the work done together and doing our planning together.
As the Shared Stewardship partners approach the end of their second year of collaboration, work is completed or underway to treat more than 200,000 acres of federal, state endowment, and private land. More importantly, these specific projects positively impact forest health and the lives of Idahoans.
The Scattered Lands Project area provides yet another wonderful opportunity for us to join in the efforts and the planning already started by the Panhandle National Forest in that part of Bonner County and build on it to expand into the private lands that surround there, both industrial and non-industrial, to get the same kind of treatment work done on those lands surrounding the Forest Service and the BLM forest lands up there. The Buckskin Project area on the Panhandle National Forest provides us a very unique opportunity to provide adjacent private land protection to a community that's completely isolated on the shores of Ponderay Lake. And we're really looking forward to this opportunity to use these authorities and to use this cross-boundary cooperation with the Panhandle to get this fuels reduction project done, and in fact a whole fuels elimination from an area completely surrounding this at-risk community. The Panhandle National Forest has provided 3 project areas that we're building on in our cross-boundary efforts. We have the opportunity there to combine all of those project areas into one Joint Chiefs project application that we have submitted on behalf of the Panhandle National Forest, and that application has been forwarded up through the ranks of the Forest Service and the Natural Resources Conservation Service and is actually under consideration for funding. The Granite Meadows project area is a great opportunity to use a new authority, different than ones we've used before, to get project work done on adjacent private forest lands next to the National Forest. The Payette National Forest is using the Wyden Authority to use some Forest Service funds to get that same kind of treatment work done that they're doing on the National Forest on adjacent private lands. The Sagehen project area on the Boise National Forest is a perfect example of work that we have been doing in cooperation with National Forest lands in Idaho. Unprecedented mortality from the Douglas fir tussock moth has ravaged that area for the last 2 years, defoliating trees to the point of mortality. We are all working on salvage operations and removal of the dead and dying timber, which just adds to that fuel component that we're trying to mitigate in these areas.
Transparency and sharing important information about shared stewardship projects with the public is central to the program's success.
When people have the right information, the why behind why you're doing something, and you can tell your story, it seems to just make such a big difference.
The new Shared Stewardship website is going to give everybody an opportunity to look up the details behind this effort, to see the actual commitment from the state, from the Forest Service, to see what it is we're trying to do and why. Why is this important to do this? I get lots of questions about how this is different from past efforts that we've done in cooperation with the National Forests. And the truth is, we have been doing shared stewardship cross-boundary work for a while, but now we have the opportunity to say this is a focal point. This is a place we're going to devote our resources, our time, and our personnel, both the Forest Service and the Department of Lands and the state of Idaho, to get this needed treatment done across the landscape.